Dune, Part 2 director Denis Villeneuve explains why the Harkonnen planet of GD Prime is in black and white. During Phaedrath's, Austin Butler, introduction sequence, the entire planet is drenched under the black sun, which makes the colors of its environments vastly different than the other worlds shown in the movie. As a result, the entire sequence is captured entirely in black and white, making GD Prime a distinct world in Villeneuve's adaptation of Frank Herbert's Dune. In an interview with Moviefone, Villeneuve explained why the planet is treated in black and white. Contextualizing first that the idea came from Herbert's book, Villeneuve expands further by stating that the light emanating from the sun could give an idea into the psyche of characters who inhabit House Harkonnen. Check out his full thoughts on the matter below. Phaedratha Harkonnen's introduction is Dune, Part 2's most unique sequence. Why GD Prime stands out. Phaedratha Harkonnen fights in the gladiator pit in Dune Part 2. While Dune, Part 2 contains many show-stopping sequences, Phaedratha's introductory fight might take the cake as the film's most inventive. Yes, it can be considered unique because it's Dune, Part 2's only sequence to have a color palette and aesthetic different than the rest of the movie. However, it's also shot differently to capture GD Prime's distinct look and feel, making it Dune, Part 2's most incredible visual achievement. As explained above by Villeneuve, cinematographer Greg Fraser shot the sequence through a modified ARRI Alexa LF IMAX camera, turning it into an infrared camera. By shooting the sequence that way, Villeneuve and Fraser were able to capture a black and white that felt like it belonged in another world, and not the traditional black and white cinematography audiences are accustomed to seeing in movies. Because of this, the look of GD Prime is highly distinct from what comes before and after Phaedratha's sequence. Through one striking visual choice, the audience understands more about the Harkonnens and their beliefs than what is told about them in either movie. As a result, the audience may think differently about how they perceived the main threats to House Atreides before Phaedratha was introduced in the movie. How Dune 2's GD Prime sequence highlights the Harkonnens' villainy. Phaedratha is not a morally ambiguous character. Most of the Dune, Part 2 cast of characters occupy different spaces on the spectrum of good and evil. The end of the film, for example, complicates the idea of Paul being a hero, and he suddenly becomes a much more morally ambiguous character. What the GD Prime sequence hammers home, however, is that the Harkonnens are the villains of this story, and there aren't really any gray areas when it comes to them. Although the film presents characters that feel real and layered, the Harkonnens feel like much more one-dimensional sci-fi bad guys. Phaedratha is a monster with no redeeming qualities, and the presentation of GD Prime as a black and white void helps to eliminate any sense that there's another layer that makes this person worth empathizing with. Although this presentation of the Harkonnens could be criticized for being simplistic in another story, other Dune characters complicate this dynamic and keep the film from feeling like a traditional good versus evil story. The Bene Gesserit play an important role in the story in this regard, and their manipulations and motives turn Phaedratha from a psychotic, knife-wielding villain into just another piece on a much larger chessboard. It remains to be seen whether GD Prime will return in a potential Dune 3, but the planet's appearance serves multiple functions in Dune, Part 2 and made for an interesting change of pace from Arrakis.